We did not fight. We did not scream. We did not say goodbye. We just stopped talking. One day there were 1,000 words between us. The next day silence. And in that silence we lost each other. Forever. This is our story. I want to tell you about a time when my life was full of noise. Good noise. The noise of two people who cannot stop talking. His name was Daniel. We met at university. First year. First week. First day of English class. I was sitting in the third row. I had a blue pen and a new notebook. I was nervous. I did not know anyone. I looked at the door every time it opened. And then he walked in. He was not the most handsome boy in the room. He was not the tallest. But he had this energy, like he was always slightly in a hurry, always going somewhere, always thinking 3 things at once. He looked around the room, found an empty seat, and sat down right next to me. He looked at my notebook and said, "Blue pen. Good choice. Blue is the best color for remembering things. I read that somewhere." I said, "Is that true?" He said, "Probably not. But it made you talk to me. So it worked." I laughed. That was the beginning. We talked after that class for 2 hours. Standing in the corridor, then walking to the cafeteria, then sitting with cold coffee because we forgot to drink it. We talked about our families, our hometowns, our favorite books, our worst fears. He was afraid of being forgotten. I was afraid of being left behind. We didn't know it then, but those 2 fears, his and mine, would one day become the exact thing that broke us. For 2 years, Daniel and I were everything to each other. We studied together. We ate together. We walked home in the rain and argued about which film was better and never agreed and never cared that we disagreed. He called me every night before sleep. Not for long. Just 10 minutes. Just to say, "How was your day? What did you eat? Did anything make you laugh?" Small questions. But they were everything. Because those small questions said, "I am thinking about you. Even when I am not with you. Even at the end of a long day when I am tired and my eyes are heavy. You are my last thought." I saved every message he sent me. Hundreds of them. Some were long pages of thoughts about life and people and things he had read. Some were one line. Sometimes just, "Thinking of you." That's all. I used to read them on bad days. They always worked. My friends saw us and said, "You two are so loud together. Always laughing. Always finishing each other's sentences. Always fighting about something small and forgetting about it 10 minutes later." Yes, we were loud. That was the most beautiful thing about us. We were so beautifully, wonderfully, completely loud. It started in our 3rd year. Not with a fight. Not with something big. Just life got busier. Daniel started a new project at university. Long hours. Late nights. He was tired all the time. He still called, but the calls got shorter. 5 minutes. Sometimes 3. Sometimes he would say, "I'm exhausted, can we talk tomorrow?" I always said yes. But tomorrow came. And it was the same. I started noticing the gaps. Not in an angry way. Just noticing. The way you notice when a song you love starts playing quieter. You don't say anything. You just hear it fading. I told myself, he is busy. This is normal. People get busy. Life is not always like the first year. This is what growing up looks like. So I stayed quiet. I did not say, "I miss the long calls. I miss the messages that were just for me. I miss feeling like I was your last thought at night." I did not say any of that. I told myself it was fine. Fine. That small sad word again. And Daniel, he noticed the gaps too. I think. But he was tired. And when you are tired, it is easy to think she understands. She knows I care. I don't need to say it. She knows. But I didn't know. Because he didn't say it. And I didn't ask. And so the first silence settled between us. Very soft. Very quiet. Like snow falling in the night, you don't hear it. But in the morning everything is covered. Here is what I did wrong. I waited. I waited for him to notice. I waited for him to call like before. I waited for the long messages. I waited for him to ask, "Are you okay? Are we okay?" He never asked. So I waited more. And every day I waited, a small wall went up. Not a big wall. Not a wall you could see. Just one brick. Then another. Then another. Until one day there was something between us that was not there before. And neither of us knew exactly when it was built. Here is what Daniel did wrong. He assumed. He assumed I knew he loved me. He assumed that because he felt it I could feel it too. He assumed that because nothing bad had happened everything was fine. He assumed silence meant peace. But silence is not always peace. Sometimes silence is two people holding so much inside that they don't know how to start saying it. Sometimes silence is a room filling with water, slowly, quietly, and both people looking at the ceiling instead of at each other. We were both wrong. In different ways. In quiet ways. But we were both wrong. I remember the last night we really talked. It was a Tuesday. November. The windows were dark and the room was cold because I had forgotten to turn the heat on. He called at 9. He said, "Hey." I said, "Hey." There was a pause. Longer than usual. He said, "How are you?" I said, "Fine." He said, "You sure?" And I had a moment, one single moment, where I could have said everything. Where I could have said, "No, Daniel, I am not fine. I feel like we are disappearing. I feel like we talk but we don't say anything anymore. I feel like I am standing on one side of a river, and you are on the other, and the river is getting wider and neither of us is swimming." I had that whole moment. But I said, "Yes, I'm sure. Just tired." He said, "Me too. Get some sleep. Talk tomorrow." I said, "Sure." He said, "Good night." I said, "Good night." And that was it. We did not talk the next day. Or the day after. And I kept thinking, he will call. He will notice. He will say something. He kept thinking, she is fine. She said so. She will say something if she is not. And so we both waited. And the river got wider. And we never swam. 3 weeks of short messages. 1 month of 3-word replies. 2 months of seeing each other's name on the screen and putting the phone down. Not because we hated each other. That is the part that nobody tells you about. The love stories where people stop talking, it is not always because of hate. Sometimes it is because of something softer and sadder. Sometimes you stop talking because you are scared. Scared that if you start saying what is real, everything will fall apart. Scared that the thing you have built together is more fragile than it looks. Scared that one honest conversation will crack it open. So you say nothing. And you tell yourself, tomorrow. I will say it tomorrow. But tomorrow comes and the fear is still there. And tomorrow after that. And tomorrow after that. Until one day you realize we have not really talked in 4 months. Not really. Not the way we used to. And we are both still here. Still sending short messages. Still saying fine, good, okay. But we are ghosts of what we were. There was no fight. There was no day where one of us said, it is over. There was just one morning when I woke up and checked my phone and realized he had not messaged in 8 days. And I had not messaged either. And neither of us had noticed. Or maybe we both had noticed. And neither of us knew what to do with that. After Daniel, I did not date anyone for 2 years. Not because I was destroyed. I was sad, yes. A deep, quiet sad. The kind that doesn't scream. The kind that just sits next to you at breakfast and at dinner and doesn't leave. But it was not just sadness about Daniel. It was sadness about myself. Because I realized something after we lost each other. I realized that I had spent so long waiting for him to say things that I forgot I had a voice to. I waited for him to reach out. I waited for him to fix things. I waited and the waiting had become a habit. A quiet, painful habit of making myself small and hoping someone would notice. I did not like that about myself, so I started working on it. Slowly. Not quickly. Not perfectly. But I started speaking. I started saying things when they were true, not waiting until they were too late. I started calling friends first instead of waiting for them to call me. I started telling my mother I loved her at the end of every phone call. I started saying I am not fine when I was not fine. Felt strange at first. Uncomfortable. Like wearing a coat that doesn't fit yet. But slowly it started to feel like me. A braver me. A louder me. A me that Daniel, if he had seen her, might have loved even more. 2 years after Daniel and I stopped talking, I received a message. It was a Sunday morning. I was in the kitchen. The sun was out. I was making eggs. His name appeared on my screen. My heart did something complicated. I stood there for a long time with the spatula in my hand. Then I opened it. It said, "Hi. I know this is strange after so long. I don't expect anything. I just have been thinking about something and I needed to say it. I am sorry. I think we both got lost in the silence and neither of us knew how to find each other again. I think about that Tuesday night when you said you were fine and I believed you because it was easier. I should not have believed you. I should have asked more. I'm sorry I didn't. I hope you are really actually fine now. Not the word fine. The real thing." I read it twice. Then I sat down on the kitchen floor. The eggs were burning. I didn't care. I cried. Not big crying. Just the quiet kind. The kind that comes when something you have been holding for 2 years finally finds a door. Because someone had seen it. Even now. Even after all this time. He had seen what happened. He had named it. He had said, the silence. He had said, I should have asked more. He had said, I'm sorry. I picked up my phone. I typed, I'm sorry too. I should have said something on that Tuesday night. I had the words. I was just afraid. I think we were both afraid. And fear is very loud, even when it looks like silence. I pressed send. We talked for 3 hours that Sunday. Long talking. Real talking. The kind we used to do in the first year in the corridor with cold coffee. He told me about the project in 3rd year. How overwhelmed he had been. How he had pulled into himself without realizing. How he kept thinking I was fine because I never said otherwise. I told him about the waiting. About the small wall. About the Tuesday night and the moment I had and let go. He said, why didn't you say something? I said, why didn't you ask? We were both quiet for a moment. Then he said, we were idiots. I laughed. A real laugh. Surprised. He laughed too. And it sounded exactly like before. Warm and familiar and a little bit clumsy. Like an old song you forgot you knew. But it was not before anymore. We were not 20-year-olds in a corridor. We were different people now. Shaped by the 2 years apart. By the silence. By the things we had both learned. I said, I don't know what this is now. He said, I don't either. I said, but I'm glad you messaged. He said, I'm glad you replied. We did not get back together. I know that is what you were hoping. I hoped it too for a while. But we had both grown in different directions. 2 years is a long time. We were not the same people anymore. And the people we had become, they cared about each other. Deeply. But they needed different things. So we became something else. Something rarer maybe. Something harder to name. We became people who had loved each other, lost each other, found each other again, and chosen honesty over hope. We met for coffee sometimes. We sent messages on birthdays, on bad days, on days when something reminded us of a conversation we had once had. And every time we talked, really talked, we were different. Not the afraid version, not the waiting version, the real version, the braver version, the version we should have been when we still had time. I used to think that silence was safe, that if I didn't say the hard thing, nothing would break, that waiting was the same as patience, that love could survive without words because the feeling was enough. But I was wrong. Love is not just a feeling. Love is a verb. It is something you do, something you say, something you show up for again and again, even when you are tired, even when you are scared, even when the words are hard to find. Silence is not safe. Silence is where love goes to get lost. If there is one thing I would tell my 20-year-old self, standing in that corridor with a blue pen and a new notebook, I would say the hard thing. Say it when it is true. Say it before it becomes too late. Say it even when your voice shakes. Say it even when you are afraid. Because the words you swallow today, they do not disappear. They sit inside you, and they grow, and they build walls. And one day you look up and the person you loved most is on the other side of a wall you built together, brick by quiet brick, and neither of you can find the door. We stopped talking, and we lost each other. Don't make our mistake. Say the thing. Say it today. We did not lose each other in a fight. We lost each other in a silence. And silence, when you love someone, is the loudest kind of goodbye. If this story felt familiar, if you have ever lost someone not to a fight but to silence like this video, subscribe to this channel and share this with one person you have been meaning to talk to. Today, not tomorrow. Today. Thank you for listening.